The member for Burleigh.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I rise today to raise a matter of public importance in relation to the failing of a central Queensland-based company, J.M. Kelly Builders, and the implication it has not only for the local community but also for the Labor government, whose fingerprints are all over this murky saga. This Rockhampton company recently entered voluntary administration with government contracts on foot, leaving major projects incomplete and subcontractors owed significant monies. Mr Deputy Speaker, the former building company known as J.M. Kelly Project Builders had previously been placed into liquidation on the 20th of June 2016, leaving a trail of debt in its wake. J.M. Kelly Builders then simply took up where the previous company left off. What is particularly worrying about this latest collapse is that despite the troubling track record, the question over suitability of J.M. Kelly executives to be involved with the running of this company, the legitimate concerns being raised over financial capacity and a lack of transparency regarding its licensing arrangements, guess what, Mr Deputy Speaker? Under this Labor administration, government contracts continued to be handed to J.M. Kelly Builders. The recent announcement that the Queensland building industry regulator, the QBCC, will contribute $300,000 towards a public examination into the collapse of two other construction companies, Cullen Group Australia and Queensland One Homes, was warmly welcomed by the Minister for Housing and Public Works last week. Funnily enough, this comes after the Labor announcement made one day before the last election that it supported an investigation into these companies, and a major concern was expressed by the QBC on the 6th of January this year that in the wake of the collapse of the Cullen Group Australia Proprietary Limited, the QBC was keeping a watchful eye on suspected illegal phoenixing activities. And I'll table the QBC's release. Now, as I said before, J.M. Kelly projects changed to J.M. Kelly Builders. If that's not phoenixing, I'm not sure what is. For the benefit of members, phoenixing is where a company with a name or similar directors emerges from a company that may have been liquidated to avoid paying its debts. So while the investigation needs to take place, I would submit there is a much bigger and murkier story that needs to be fully scrutinised, and that is the collapse of J.M. Kelly Builders and why this Labor government did nothing while the company ripped off small subbies and suppliers. In fact, Mr Speaker, the government seems to have supported the phoenixing of J.M. Kelly in 2006 when it allowed 21 contracts it had with J.M. Kelly to be transferred to a related company, J.M. Kelly Builders, via a deed of novation signed by David Sullivan on behalf of the Department of Education and Training. And I table an article from last week's Sunshine Coast that covers that really well. Members may well ask why the Department of Education allowed this to happen. Well, I decided to do some investigation, Mr Deputy Speaker, and you can imagine my surprise when a reliable source on the ground in central Queensland informed me that the previous Labor Minister, Rob Schwarten, had approached the LNP while we're in government saying we have to give J.M. Kelly some hospital work. They only make money from hospital work. Well, no luck there, Mr Speaker, so I kept digging. There are also rumours around Rockhampton that J.M. Kelly built faults into government projects in order to ensure future work referrals. Surely that can't be true, Mr Deputy Speaker. Perhaps that needs investigating. Could it really have something to do with the member for Keppel's mentor, the former Minister for Housing, Rob Schwarten? Surely not, although he's apparently best mates with John Murphy, the Group Director of J.M. Kelly. Interesting, Rob Schwarten worked on the member for Cooper's campaign in Ashgrove. The member for Cooper was a media advisor in Rob Schwarten's office before entering Parliament. She was also the Minister for Education in 2016. Well, that's a coincidence, isn't it? Could that be it? And of course, let's not forget Rob Schwarten is on the board of the Queensland Building and Construction Commission. Is it making sense? But wait, Speaker, there's more. The new member for Rockhampton was the former Regional Director, Central Queensland for Housing and Public Works. Another coincidence. Perhaps he could shed some light be helpful on the background of J.M. Kelly, their activities and what he knows about the deed of novation signed by the Department of Education, and maybe if he discussed this with the Department of Education before that. Maybe it's got something to do with the member for Keppel, who's now Assistant Minister for Education. Interestingly, and I'll table a report from last week's paper about the interesting take that the member had on. I note the member for Keppel's husband. Worked for J.M. Kelly, and then he worked for Hutchinson Builders. Now, a lot of members mightn't know the story there. That didn't end well. I'll table those documents as well.
Order, members.
Speaker,
Order.
What a tangled web they weave when they practice to deceive.
Order. Thank you. Order. Order.